Hey darlings, it's Alora. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be filming a book haul. This is kind of like a February book haul, maybe, kind of. There are a lot of books here, but they're definitely not all of the books that I've purchased since my last book haul. I went to film a book haul a few months ago, and I just really didn't like the footage, so I didn't do anything with it, which means none of those books have been included. But if you watch some of the videos that I'll be putting up here in the next week or so, you'll see my recent reads videos, which should include a bunch of the books that I've recently purchased that are not included in this haul if you're curious what other books I've been reading and buying. Quick address to the elephant in the room, which is my indecision, otherwise known as my constantly changing hair color, style, length. Oh well, whatever. Anyway, let's start with the books. The first book that I want to talk about is my book of the month pick for February, I guess, and that was Anna Kay by Jenny Lee. This is a retelling of Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy, told in Manhattan with super rich kids, and the main character, Anna Kay, is half Korean. So there's Asian representation, and there is also kind of like this Gossip Girl twist to Anna Karenina. As my add-on for my book of the month, I ended up picking up Circe by Madeline Miller. I have read this book, but I actually listened to it on audiobook form, so I didn't have a physical copy. The whole reason that I wanted to get this book in physical form was because I thought it was so beautiful, and unfortunately the book of the month version isn't shiny other than the sticker, but you know, the regular version is embossed with gold and is all beautiful, so I might end up still having to buy the regular edition anyway, so kind of a situation. Next up is a book that I had pre-ordered, and that is actually a volume of a comic, which is Heartstoppers by Alice Oseman. I read the first and second volumes of Heartstoppers last year and really adored them. It's such a beautiful story of these two boys falling in love. It's really heartfelt and heartwarming, and all around just gives you good feelings. So I decided to pre-order the third one, and it came in. This one follows the two boys, and they're actually going on a school trip to Paris, if that interests anybody. All of the next books were purchased in like one lump batch of bad decision making. I mean, good decision making, we love books, but yeah, I bought a bunch of books at once. The first one is Night Sky with Exit Wounds by Ocean Vuong. This is his poetry collection. I recently did read his full-length novel On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, which came out earlier this year, and after reading it, I felt like, wow, this man really understands how to wield language and how to put his words together in just such a way that really captures you, but also that I thought that his writing style might be better suited to poetry than to prose. So that is why I finally decided to grab his collection. It's very short, and it did win the Whitting Award for poetry. I've just barely started it, so I don't really have very many thoughts, but I do know that a lot of this focuses around his family and the Vietnam War. Another book that I picked up in this giant collective batch was The Dreamers by Karen Thompson Walker. This book is interesting. It's about this small town, a small little college town in California that essentially catch a plague where all of these people keep falling asleep and then not being able to wake up, and then they're dying because dehydration or their hearts are slowing down, but some of them last a long time, and it's really about contagion, which is ironic right now, and it's about different people and how they respond to crazy situations. There is really a lot to be said about this book, but this is not a wrap-up, so if that basic premise sounds interesting to you, I would recommend picking it up. Her writing style is really beautiful, and she takes this really interesting, like, omniscient perspective that zooms in and out, kind of like a movie director deciding when to focus on one character and when to show the whole city, and it's really fascinating. Another book that I picked up is the Books Unbound podcast book of the month, not book of the month, book club pick for April, I think, which is The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa. And this book sounded really interesting to me the first time that I heard about it, but then I just didn't have the impetus to pick it up. But now that it's the book club pick, I definitely want to read it along with everyone else for the podcast. So this book essentially is an Orwellian tale that follows this place. I don't know if it's a town, a city, or a whole country, but basically things start disappearing from people's memories. So say for instance a ribbon. One day everyone in this place will just kind of forget what a ribbon is, and so they'll hold it up and they'll just have no emotional connection to it or no even understanding of what it could possibly be used for. And that starts happening with different things, and so this is basically a book about a young woman who is protecting one of the very few people who is not forgetting things when things start disappearing from people's memories. So she is protecting him from the memory police. And that just sounds really fascinating. It sounds a little bit on the edge of your seat, and definitely a good speculative element here. Plus, I always like reading Asian fiction. I don't know why it is, but it feels like there's a different texture to it. I'm not sure if it's because of translations. Translations are such a fascinating topic and something for another day, but I don't know. I've just found that a lot of the Asian literature that I read has a very different feeling to it, almost like it's not following the same narrative structure as Western literature. I could be wrong about that, but that's just kind of my personal feelings and what I've noticed from reading a fair amount of Asian literature recently. Ooh, this next boy, he's a big one. The long anticipated and awaited Crescent City House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J Maas. This is Sarah J Maas's first adult fantasy novel, and I was so excited. I was so excited. I didn't know what the premise was. I didn't read any synopsises or anything like that. I just, you know, she's an auto-buy author for me at this point because I grew up with the Throne of Glass series. Well, not really grew up, but high school and college I was reading Throne of Glass. I was reading, I'm drawing a blank, but the Fairy series, and I just really enjoy her writing. It's like candy, right? Like, you know it's not good for you, but you keep going back for more. So I just picked this one up. I did recently find out when I started reading it. I started listening to it on audio actually, but I had also pre-ordered the real copy. Man, she's a chunker. But I realized that this is actually more like urban fantasy, and so it's kind of confusing at first because there are all of these different houses which have different magical beings, so it's not straightforward like, oh yeah, we have fairies, the Fae Kingdom, and the Human Kingdom. No. There's like every single conceivable kind of demon and magical creature and werewolf and angel, and they're all like thrown together in this city, and it's like, whoa. But I've also heard that it's kind of like a little bit of a detective-y cop type story also when you get a little further into it. So very interesting. I am very interested to find out how I feel about it once I get a little bit further into the story. Moving on to more Asian literature, we have Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. Now, this book was originally published in English, so it has definitely a different texture than books that were originally published in, say, Japanese or Korean, but I am very curious about this because I did watch the movie when it came out, and it was really fun. It was just really fun, and again, kind of going back to the Gossip Girl idea of just these really tremendously wealthy people living this extravagant lifestyle. And I think that's fun, and I've heard that this book has footnotes, which intrigues me because I kind of do like when books have footnotes. That adds, you know, more to the background of the story without feeling like you're forcibly putting it into the story. It's not the first book on my TBR, but I'm definitely excited. The next two books actually were recommended to me by Piera. She's a hardcore fantasy reader. She knows all about fantasy books, and so I take her recommendations in this genre very seriously. The first book is The Wolf of Oren Yarrow, and this one sounds so interesting. The subtitle is Chronicles of the Bitch Queen. Or I guess that's the name of the series. And so we just have this badass female queen whose king like abandoned her and ran off to do who knows what, and she's just been here ruling, being a badass, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited for it. I think it will be really fun. And then the next book that Pierre recommended was Red Sister, which is the first book of The Ancestor by Mark Lawrence. This is a little mass market paperback. I usually don't like this format of book, but it does kind of harken back to the days when I was first reading and I read a lot of fantasy, and I read those little, you know, mass market paperbacks that just felt so intrinsic to the fantasy genre, and so I'm excited about this. This one is about a young girl who grows up in this essentially convent as an assassin nun. Okay. I'm intrigued. That's really all I know about it, but I've heard good things. There are two more books in this portion of the book haul, and the first one is The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton. This is a book that has been on my TBR and on my Amazon wishlist for no joke, like 7 years, at least 5 years, I don't know how long, a long time, guys. I keep hearing about this book and the beautiful writing style and just the way that the magical realism is woven into the story in such a lyrical and gorgeous way, and I still haven't read it. Plus it's really a pretty book. Look at the cover, it's shiny, and I'm excited for this one because I feel like I've put it off for a very long time, and for whatever reason the other day when I was adding like 10 books to my Amazon shopping cart, I just decided that now was the time, today was the day. So I'm excited to get into this one. The next one is a little interesting. So you guys all know I love Laini Taylor. Laini Taylor is an author whom I adore. Did I use whom right? I don't know. I'm one of those people that can never figure out the appropriate time to use the word whom. It just confuses me. I don't get it. It's been explained to me 5,000 times. I understand, you know, many other aspects of the English language, but for whatever reason that one just escapes me. Anyway, Laini Taylor is such an amazing author. Her writing style is just to die for. I feel like she has such an air of whimsy and delight just woven into her stories, and I love them. Anyway, now that I've given her a bunch of pats on the back, the book that I picked up was Lips Touch Three Times, with illustrations by her husband, Jim D. Bartolo, and I'm confused about this. I'm not sure. I think it's 3 different stories. I'm pretty sure it's 3 separate stories, and they're illustrations, and they're like these little potentially creepy fairy tale retellings. I don't even know. I think that there are goblins in here, but I'm not entirely sure. All I know is that I like her writing and that I have hit the end of her published works. Like, I've read everything else that she's ever written, and this is the only thing that's left that she's published that I haven't read, so I bought it. Okay, we're to the very final book of the book haul, and that is a philosophy book, actually, and it is Plato at the Googleplex, Why Philosophy Won't Go Away by Rebecca Neuberger Goldstein. I don't know a whole lot about this book, except for the fact that it's about philosophy and that I'm very interested in philosophical orientations and just understanding how people conceptualize of the human experience. And so I think novels really give that to us. They give us these little zoomed in looks at how people understand their own personal human experiences in a variety of situations. But I think that philosophy kind of zooms back out and gives us a broader worldview of possible ways to understand why we're here, what we're doing, what the point of it all is. Okay guys, that was it. That was my book haul. Oh, you know, I lied. I'm gonna add one more that I just saw. I have a few more to add. I've got to do it kind of quickly because I'm running out of camera space and I don't want this video to be for frickin' ever in a day. But I saw these other books that were sitting over here that I've purchased recently that I really wanted to show off. So one is Long Live the Tribe of Fatherless Girls by T. Kira Madden. This is an essay collection, a memoir essay collection, and it is really interesting. It's about this girl who grew up very wealthy but also with parents who were drug users, and so she was neglected as a child, and it's about her growing up and figuring out her own sexuality, and then also her growing up around this environment of drug abuse but also being surrounded by riches. It's very fascinating, and like I said, it is a memoir, so it's a true story, a nonfiction, and it was good. I liked it. It was a solid 4 stars for me. I'll talk about it more in a recent reads video soon. Another book that I recently picked up was I Love You So Mochi by Sarah Kuhn. This is just a cutesy little fluff contemporary YA book about this girl who doesn't exactly know what she wants to do with her life after high school. She doesn't like the direction her life is going, and so she decides to just on a whim go visit her estranged grandparents who live in Japan. And it's just a little romance, and it's a little story about her figuring out what she wants to do. And when I say little, I don't mean to demean the fact that these are big subjects, that, you know, falling in love is a big subject, and also figuring out who you are, you know, really crystallizing your identity and understanding what you want to do with your life. These are big topics, but it was handled in a very light manner. So if you're in for some like cotton candy, this might be the book for you. Also, I have a trip planned for Japan. I don't know if I'm going to take it this year because of all the travel scare stuff going on, but I'm gonna go soon, and so it was fun to see all of the different places. This book predominantly took place in Kyoto, and so I'm going to Kyoto, and I'm looking forward to seeing a bunch of the places nearby, like Nara Deer Park, that were featured in this book. Also, I think the word mochi is really cute, so it's just a cute story, you know? Another book that I have to show you is Topics of Conversation by Miranda Popke. This was a Book of the Month book for me. It was a memoir written in essays. It wasn't a memoir. It was a novel, but it sounded like a memoir. I don't know. It was actually fiction. I felt that the author was trying really too hard and it came across as pretentious, and I didn't enjoy this book. But, you know, if you're interested in stories of people's lives told over many years, like 20 years, where you just skip 10 years at a time, that kind of thing, maybe this one's for you. Another cute one that I got recently was a graphic novel called Bloom. I picked this up because I really enjoyed Heartstoppers, like I previously mentioned, and this one is in this gorgeous blue, black and white color palette. It's really pretty, and I really liked the art style. I thought it was cute. I didn't love the story, but it's about this young boy whose family owns a bakery, and he basically wants to become a musician. He doesn't want to work at this bakery, but his family needs him there. So instead of working at the bakery full-time for the rest of his life, he decides he's going to hire someone else and show his family that they can get along just fine without him. So he hires this other boy who's in town to take care of his dead aunt's estate, essentially, and the love story blooms from there, and it was cute. It's a cute one. Okay, we're almost done. Two more. One is a poetry collection by Emily Berry called Dear Boy. This was recommended by Ariel Bissett, and so I take many of her recommendations, and I find a lot of really interesting books. I think that my favorite poem of the whole collection was Letter to Husband, and if you don't want to buy the whole collection, just look that one poem up because it was really moving. But the other stuff was really interesting. It was kind of a little subversive, and that surprised me. I wasn't expecting it going into this. And the final book that I have to show you is Princess Princess Ever After by Katie O'Neill. This is because I've been reading all of Katie O'Neill's books. She is the author and illustrator of the Tea Dragon Society, which I adored. I read that last year, at the end of last year, and just loved it. And so I've been buying all her other books and reading them. And this one was cute. It's a cute little LGBTQ plus love story with these two princesses, and it was cute. It wasn't my favorite of her stories. It felt a little simplistic. It was one of the first ones that she wrote and published, and I definitely prefer the Tea Dragon Society. So if you're going to start anywhere, start with the Tea Dragon Society, but if you love her illustration style and her storytelling style, maybe move on to this. Okay, that was a lot of books. I guess I added more than I meant to, but it was really fun to do that. I'm really happy that I got to show you all of the books that I've been collecting in the last month or two. I know it's a lot. I have a little bit of a book buying problem, but there are worse things in life, so thank you all so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Like I said, I'll have a few more videos up here in the near future about the books that I've been reading in the last few months, and maybe even my favorite books of 2019, since I haven't done that video yet. I am definitely late to the game on that one, but thank you all for sticking with me. I hope that you have a beautiful day, and until next time, love you.